Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen with you, and we'll run through this bit of a presentation. Can you see that? Breathe better, an introduction. Yeah, you may recognize the symbol on the slide. That's the symbol that now is on the oxygen chamber in the center, and it's the Sanskrit symbol for breathe, which is quite pretty. It was one of our, Ruth at the center. Her husband Gordon chose that as a design to put on our oxygen chamber, which was nice when we were redesigning. So, well, you both know me. I don't need to introduce myself. You're both very familiar with me now. So this is just a bit of an outline of what we're going to do today. I'll run through just a bit of the basics of why and how we breathe, mechanics of it. How should you breathe? What is the ideal? And have a look at your own breathing pattern and see what kind of way you do breathe. We'll run through a few breathing exercises, talk a little bit. I'll let you know, just inform you about what the benefit of those should be, and then just a little bit of a summary of what else you would expect from the longer program. Okay, so feel free to chip in if you want to ask any questions as we go along. Otherwise, if you want to keep them till the end, we can chat at the end. Okay. So this is a nice little diagram of your lungs and within your chest. And certainly the reason why we breathe, which is not rocket science, we want to take oxygen in and we want to get rid of the carbon dioxide, which is the waste products of our bodily physiological functions. So for most of our physiological functions, we need oxygen, and we get rid of the carbon dioxide. But for the mechanics of breathing, really the key is that we need our diaphragm. Our diaphragm is really what should drive our breathing pattern. So that's the big dome-like muscle that sits underneath your lungs at the bottom, attaches to the bottom of your rib cage. And really, whenever your carbon dioxide levels increase within your blood, that's what triggers your diaphragm to contract and to move down. The little muscles in between your ribs as well, they contract to help your rib movement. And so together, the diaphragm and the little intercostals, they open up your chest, lift the rib cage up and outwards, creating a relative drop in the pressure within your chest cavity, and that draws the air into your lungs. And that's basically the mechanics of your breathing. The air should go right down into the alveoli, which are the little tiny air-like sac, or little tiny balloon-like sacs at the end of your airways, and that's where the gas exchange occurs. They're surrounded by little blood vessels. So your oxygen goes across into your blood and the carbon dioxide comes out of your blood back into the lungs, and then the diaphragm and the intercostals relax, and the air is pushed out again out of the lungs. So your exhalation at rest is really pretty passive. So you're not really using any muscles for that. It's the relaxation of the muscles that pushes it out. However, if you start to do something under more effort, then there will be a more active engagement of the other little intercostal muscles in your ribs, and they start to squeeze things out a little bit more. And that's really the bottom line with what breathing is like. And with relaxed breathing, it's just worth noting that whenever you're just breathing as you are at the moment, you're only really using about 25 to maybe 30% of your lung volume. So you're really not taking in an awful lot of volume of air. Okay. So, all right. So how do you breathe? I want you to have a little think about your own breathing. Just close your eyes for me and just allow yourself to breathe in a relaxed way. You just listen to my commentary, and I just want you to have a little think about the questions I'm going to pose to you. So while you're breathing, just notice your breath and notice whether it's deep, whether you're breathing deeply or shallowly. Is your breath fast or is it slow? Do you think, is your chest moving and your rib cage moving? Or is your tummy moving? Are you getting any movement down into your tummy? And are you breathing with your mouth opened or closed? I can see you've both got your nose or your mouth closed, which is good. And just think about your posture as well. What your sitting posture is like. Do you think it could be any better? Do you think it doesn't matter? And finally, I just want you to take a really big deep breath in. Okay, good. Okay. All right, so let's have a think about why I asked you all of those things. All right. So shallow breath is quite common, particularly if you do have some sort of breathing pattern disorder, and particularly if you're anxious and stressed. This is when we start to tend to use our shoulders and start to breathe really shallowly up with the upper part of your chest. Sorry, excuse me. And obviously, if you, in terms of trying to get the air right down into the bottom of your lungs, trying to get as much air across the alveoli into your blood, you want to be able to try and get the air as far down into your lungs as possible. But if you're only breathing with that upper part of your chest, the air is not going to reach that far down. But also in terms of the pace of your breathing, if you're breathing quickly, you're not giving the air enough time to get down into the deeper parts of your airways. If you're breathing quickly, it'll just come down into the upper part of your lungs and never really get down into the bottom part. In terms of your chest, whether you've got chest or belly movement. So if you actually feel some movement into your belly, then that's a good sign that you are using your diaphragm. But if your chest isn't, if you're not really getting an awful lot of movement in your rib cage and your chest, that would indicate as well that you're not really taking a particularly deep breath in. The other thing as well around your diaphragm, in terms of your diaphragmatic activation, if you're breathing with your mouth open, that tends to suppress the diaphragmatic activation. So as soon as you close your mouth and start breathing through your nose, your diaphragm will engage better. And your posture is also really important. If you're hunched and you're all hunched up and sort of in a slump position, it's much more difficult for you to open up your rib cage properly and take a deep breath. And as well as that, if your chin is poking out and your neck is in a bad position, it tends to close down your airways a little bit and increase the amount of friction or resistance into your airways as well. So it makes it more difficult to get the air in. And the other thing is, whenever you want to take a deep breath, if you felt the need to open your mouth, a lot of people find whenever they try and take a deep breath in that they try and gasp it in. Now, I think both of you managed to keep your mouth closed, but certainly if you start to get under more effort and start to gasp in through your mouth, you're not going to be taking the breath as deep down into your lungs. So if you actually just try and take a deep breath in through your mouth, and you'll notice the difference, both of you, rather than actually breathing down into the bottom part of your rib cage, both of you lifted through your shoulders. So as soon as you open your mouth, your diaphragm's not working that hard, and it will force your other muscles. Your other muscles of breathing, which tend to be your neck muscles, are considered as accessory muscles, that they shouldn't be doing all the work. The diaphragm should be doing the work. But if you're not using your diaphragm, the neck muscles and the shoulder muscles will kick in. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. So yes, you've had a feel about what your own breathing is like, but at rest, your breathing pattern is probably fairly good. So I would encourage you over the next few weeks, or certainly in the future, to just consider, whenever you start to feel a bit out of breath, whenever you're under exertion, what kind of changes does that make to your breathing pattern? Does it make you move your shoulders more? Does it stop you from breathing down deeply into your belly? And does it increase your breathing rate? Well, which obviously it does. But the ultimate, or certainly one of the results of using these breathing techniques and exercises, is to help you to be more in control of your breathing rate, slow it down, optimize the length of time that you have to allow the air to get in and out of your lungs, so that you can optimize the gas exchange across your alveoli. Okay. So signs. So how do you know if you're not breathing ideally, if you've got a suboptimal breathing pattern? So I guess some of the symptoms, I'd like to point out as well that actually an awful lot of the population don't breathe particularly well for various reasons. So it's not just people with long-term health conditions. Actually, it's quite common across the healthy populations. And in terms of athletes as well, you have a lot of people who are not breathing as well as they should be. So some of the things that we experience if your breathing pattern is not so good, things like increased fatigue, which I know both of you experience, the increased neck activity, as I was saying, compensating for the reduced activation of your diaphragm. You might find that you need to take more breaths when you're talking. So that's indicating that you're, if you having to breathe in between, speak 3 or 4 words and then having to breathe in again. So you're not taking deep enough breaths. Frequent sighing, sniffing or yawning, also similar to with the increased number of breaths. Reduced volume of voice, so that's just in terms of the air moving across your vocal cords, so that can be an indication of not taking enough volume. Pursed lip breathing, another one, where you see people tightening up their mouths, breathing through their mouth, but keeping their mouth really tightly shut. And essentially what that's doing is increasing the pressure within your airways and trying to splint open the airways to try and optimize the perfusion of air throughout the lungs. Some people, if they're not getting enough oxygen, will experience tingling of their fingers and toes. You might find that you have reduced cough strength, particularly if you had a deterioration in your activity and you're not tending not to take an awful lot of deep breaths regularly. Your exhalation, the forced exhalation, is something that deteriorates as well. Partly as a result of the reduced cough strength, you can have increased chest infections, but there's also other reasons for that, which I'll go into. Dental problems too. These will become a bit more clear with some of the things I'll talk about in a minute. Memory problems, in part just because you're not optimizing the delivery of oxygen to your tissues, including your brain. Some headaches as well, and that can be partly because of overactivity of your neck muscles. Dry mouth, which I'll come on to as well, particularly waking up with a dry mouth in the morning, and also an increase in your nighttime urination. Again, so some of these things I'll explain in a minute. So those are some of the, if you experience any of these symptoms, some of them certainly might be in part due to not breathing, not having an optimal breathing pattern. Okay, so how your breathing pattern affects us. So, I mean, we tend to think, well, I just breathe automatically. It happens and I don't have to think about it. But actually, our breathing pattern, as I talked about, say, for example, if you're breathing only up in the top part of your lungs, the distribution of air in your lungs will be affected. So if you're not breathing deeply, it's never getting down to the middle part of your lungs or the bases of your lungs, which are at the back. So the distribution of air will change. Now this will affect the balance of carbon dioxide and oxygen in the blood, which affects the acidity and your balance within your blood. And then that will also affect the efficiency of your body functions. And this can end up just in a bit of a negative spiral of continuing to affect, the change in your blood chemistry will also then affect your breathing patterns. And if you're not tolerating as much of the carbon dioxide in your blood, then you'll end up breathing quicker and faster and continuing to go on around in a circle. Now, if you're ending up breathing faster and faster and taking shallower breaths, this can also feed into a stress response and make you feel stressed, even though there are not necessarily things going on around you that are stressful, but it might be down to the fact that your body chemistry is changing because your breathing's not so good. So we can affect that by tapping into your breathing, trying to alter your breathing pattern, making it better and reversing that negative spiral. So this is a little test for yourself. It's a really nice, really simple little test for you to test how well your body tolerates that increasing level of carbon dioxide as your cells are getting rid of carbon dioxide from their normal functions. So it's to see how long it takes before you need to take a breath in, or that your body wants to take a breath in. It's called the Body Oxygen Level Test Score. And basically what you do, you just have relaxed breathing. So again, I'll get you to close your eyes and just feel your breathing. Don't change your breathing. But when you get to the end of a breath out, you hold your nose and hold your breath and count how long it takes for you to feel the desire to breathe in. It's not about how long it takes for you to, or it's not about how long you can hold your breath. It's about how long it takes before you feel the urge to breathe in. Okay. And an idea of how many seconds that takes. Okay, so have you both done that? Yeah, okay. So how many seconds? I'm not going to ask you to tell me. No naming and shaming here. But basically the results are, what you're looking for is to be able to hold it for more than 25 seconds before you feel the urge to breathe in, which feels like an eternity to most of us probably. But less than 25 seconds for, I think it's around about, if you can't hold it for 25 seconds, there's about a 90% chance that you've got an altered breathing pattern that's not ideal. And you know, so and actually, if you go down, I mean, an awful lot of people are much lower than 25 seconds. So it's a common issue. So if it is less than 25 seconds, if it's less than 15 seconds, then these exercises will help you. The research that there is into this stuff, it will help to increase. And if you do these exercises regularly, if you do them sort of between 3 to 5 times a day, within a week, you should increase your Bolt score by about 2 to 3 seconds. Okay, so that's what the indication is. Okay, so how to breathe better. Let's start with the first thing that is really important is to close your mouth. And I've already talked a little bit about that, about how important it is to close your mouth so that your diaphragm can engage better. But there's lots of other reasons why breathing through your nose is really important. It also moistens the air. When you breathe through your mouth, that doesn't moisten the air at all. Actually, you lose about 40% more water if you breathe through your mouth than if you're breathing through your nose. And that's particularly why, particularly in the morning, if you wake up in the morning, if you're breathing through your mouth at night, which an awful lot of people do, and you wake up with a dry mouth, you've lost so much more water and people become dehydrated. It also warms the air as it goes in, so it makes it less abrasive to the airways as it goes in. It filters the air and takes out some of the nasty bacteria and any little particles that would be damaging. And as well, you produce nitric oxide through the nose. It's only about sort of 15, 20 years ago that they discovered in exhaled air through the nose, you have quite a high level of nitric oxide. Breathing out through your mouth, there's very little nitric oxide in your breath from your mouth. But nitric oxide is a really important gas. It cleanses and it has an antibacterial effect, so it kills off all the nasty bugs as it comes in through your nose. It also makes the oxygen. It also encourages the oxygen to ventilate the lungs more effectively. It also stimulates the activity of the little cilia, all the little hairs along your airways, which are the ones that get rid of all the, if you're getting rid of any mucus or bacteria, it's the little cilia that do all that work. And nitric oxide helps to facilitate those to work more effectively. So if you're breathing through your mouth, that doesn't happen. And certainly the nitric oxide is produced from the nasal cavities. And one of the best ways to increase the production of nitric oxide is by humming. It makes your nasal concha, your nasal cavities vibrate. And that's what stimulates your nitric oxide. So if you want to boost it and help to reduce the chance of you developing infections and keep your airways as clean as possible, just do a little bit of humming. Okay, so it's a nice reason to do something that also will boost your mood probably as well. Okay, so yes, tape. One way of helping to try and encourage nasal breathing is to tape your mouth. Now, I can't remember whether I talked to you about this, Irene. And Paul, I think I've talked to you about this before, have I? Yeah, we talked about this in class before when I started doing this stuff. Now, it's really been designed to wear at night to try and encourage you to keep your mouth closed and encourage you to breathe through your nose. And I have some of it here. And basically what you do, it has a little hole in it so that you can still open your mouth if you need to. So actually if you need to cough or if you're certainly not going to suffocate with using these things. but because it's like stretchy, it's like physio tape, and you pull it a little bit tight around your mouth and put it on like that, and it creates tension around the outside of your lips. So whenever you're wearing it, you can open your mouth, but it encourages your mouth to stay shut. And it's actually really quite comfortable. And I do wear these at night. And actually, it makes a massive difference to how well you sleep. So if you're interested in trying them, I can send them out. I don't know how well they work over facial hair, Paul, so that's a bit more tricky. But you can also just get, even just taking a little bit of physio tape and putting a strip across your mouth actually works as well. Only it can be a wee bit uncomfortable on your delicate lip tissue. But if you feel that if you're waking up and your mouth isn't dry in the morning, you maybe don't sleep with your mouth open. But actually, most of us do waking up snoring. Snoring is a classic sign, obviously, that we do sleep with our mouth open. So taping your mouth is a really good way. And if you're not comfortable with doing it at night, even just wearing it during the day to help you become more aware of the sensation of breathing through your nose. Most of us, whenever we start to do anything of any kind of effort, like if you go to walk up the stairs, I'm very conscious of it, that I'll start to try and breathe through my mouth. But I now try and force myself to breathe through my nose, and I slow down. I slow my pace down to make sure I can keep my mouth closed. The second part of how to breathe better is about just the posture, and we've already touched on that whenever we were talking about how you feel when you're breathing. So the key thing, when you're breathing when you're sitting, and I advise whenever you start doing these exercises to do them in sitting to start with. So make sure you feel reasonably well supported, that your posture is upright, that it's not slumped nor extended, because if you're extended too far as well, that has an impact on your diaphragm and how well it can work. Try and make sure that your shoulders and neck are reasonably relaxed. If you feel that you're tight around your neck and shoulders and it's difficult to let them go, putting a pillow, resting your hands on a table in front, or putting a pillow up in front of you, that helps to offload your neck muscles and your shoulder muscles. So that can be helpful if you find you're overusing them. And also your chin tucked in. I mentioned before, if your chin's tucked like that, it has an impact on obviously the shape of your airway and how easily the air can get in. Okay, so the first exercise. These are the exercises I'm going to give you are really simple, basic exercises. And you should be able to do that. It's only about spending a few minutes a day really trying these, or if you try them three times a day and try build up to doing them 5 times a day. But really you're only doing each of the exercises for a maximum of 4, maybe 5 minutes, okay? And that will be enough to start building your body's tolerance to carbon dioxide, which is essentially what you're trying to do. But I'll talk about that in a minute. So the first one I want you to do is just close your eyes again and just just become aware of your breathing and feel what's going on. And then on your next out breath, I want you to just hold your nose, count to 3, and then let it go again. At the end of the out breath, 1, 2, 3, and let go. So you relax your breath again for about another 15 seconds. I'll tell you when to go again. Oh, my stopwatch isn't on this one. And again, on the end of your next out breath, if you hold your nose again and count for 3, 2, 1, and let go whenever you've done 3-second holds. And this is your first exercise. You do that for about 3 minutes just to start off. And the main thing around this is about helping you to just become more aware of your breathing. And as well as that, by closing your nose, holding your nose closed, you're keeping the carbon dioxide in and stopping it from escaping. And you're also helping to maintain the activation of your diaphragm as well. So you're keeping carbon dioxide in and keeping your diaphragm engaged. Okay? So that's the first exercise. And what I suggest is that you set your 3-minute timer on your phone or something, and just do that until your alarm goes off. The next one is what we call breathe light. Now set your timer for about 4 to 5 minutes with this one. And again, closing your eyes, relax, supported breathing, and just concentrate on the sensation of the air moving in and out of your nose. So feel it going in through your nose and out through your nose. And notice how it's cold going in and a bit warmer as it comes out. Now, continue just to focus on the passage of the air in and out of your nose. But I want you to try and slow down the speed of the flow as it goes into your nose. And continue to slow it down until the breath is almost imperceptible. If you can feel the air against the little hairs in your nose, just try and stop the hairs from moving. So you're breathing you're starting to breathe light and slowly. Now, sometimes what you feel is this, what we talk about in this program is something called air hunger. So this sensation, like we talked about so the Bolt score is that the sensation of wanting to take another breath in. So we want you to try and, throughout the progression of these exercises, we want to delay the onset of this sensation of air hunger, which is the sensation of wanting to take a deeper breath. Okay. So if you start to feel that air hunger, if you start to feel the sensation of wanting to take a deeper breath, then just relax your breathing again, take some normal breaths for about 15-20 seconds, and then start again with the whole process of slowing it down, making it a slow and slight sensation going in and out through your nose. So this will be a low volume breathing. So you're not taking deep breaths, but you're making it really, really slow. Okay, so that's the next one. And then the next exercise, the third of I'm just giving you 3 exercises to try and work on, is this one about breathing deeply. So we've done the first one, which is really just a warm-up exercise to make you more aware of your breathing and to start you with a sensation of holding the idea of holding your breath. The second one is about reducing the volume of your breath and making it really slow. And then this one is about keeping it slow, but thinking about breathing deeper down into your lungs. So I want you to, again, just feel your breath to start with, normal breathing, and feel it, just tap into the sensation of whether you can feel your rib cage moving. If it helps to put your hand on the bottom of the rib cage, do so. And notice if your belly's moving, if your ribs are moving, or if you can feel your neck muscles kicking in. Now, on your next breath, I want you to take your breath slowly, but take it deeper down into the bottom of your lungs. And notice what you're doing here, what's happening to the movement of your chest. On your next breath, I really want you to think about taking it downwards and outwards to the side. And that's why I've got the Atari symbol. Oh, I think you'll know what I'm talking about there with the Atari symbol. This idea of moving your air down and out to the side, not to the front, because a lot of breathing techniques and breathing practices talk to you about breathing down into your belly and pushing your belly out to the front. I want you to bring it down and out to the side. And if you tend to use your neck muscles, you'll notice that this will switch them off. Okay? Try and keep this breathing pattern quiet as well. So again, thinking about reducing the friction through your nose, keeping it through your nose, not through your mouth. And it's down and out, and then in and back out again. All right. So you would do that for about 4 or 5 minutes as well. And that's your 3 exercises. So what that's 8, 12 minutes. So if you do 4 of this, 4 of the last one, actually, yeah, so 11 minutes really of breathing exercises, and trying to do that 3 times a day to start with. Okay. So the purpose of those exercises, as I've touched on already, is that it improves your breathing awareness. So making you more aware of whether you're breathing through your nose, breathing through your mouth, making you more aware of how quickly and slowly, how deeply, how shallowly. And it introduces the idea of this feeling, this sensation of wanting to take a deeper breath in. And whenever you want to take a deeper breath in, you tend to want to do it through your mouth. And we want to try and really minimize that. If you feel like you need to take a deeper breath in, do it through your nose. By doing this, you will increase the amount of carbon dioxide that builds up in your blood. And by doing that repetitively, your body will build up a tolerance to it. If you can tolerate more carbon dioxide in your blood, it means that your blood releases oxygen much more readily to the tissues. The lower the carbon dioxide level in the blood, the tighter your hemoglobin holds on to your oxygen. So it makes it much harder for your muscles and your body tissues to be able to get that oxygen off it whenever it needs to. So it becomes more of a wrestle. So more carbon dioxide in your blood means the oxygen will be more freely available to your body tissues. Again, increasing your nitric oxide, which improves, improves the amount of oxygen that gets down into your tissues. It reduces infections. It improves as I say, the clearance of bacteria out of your system as well through your cilia. Improving ventilation by the slower breathing. It allows the air time to get down into the ends of your airways. And by that, it improves the delivery of oxygen to your body tissues. And also helps to improve the amount of the working of your diaphragm. So if you've been tending not to use your diaphragm particularly, these exercises will make it work better and more effectively. And also, if your diaphragm's working better, you'll have better spinal stability. And by keeping your mouth closed, it helps to improve the intra-abdominal pressure, which also helps to give you spinal stability. So the chances of you developing back problems will be reduced and actually causing any injury to your back. So breathing through your nose and all of these exercises will help to improve that too. How will you know whether this is doing any good? Okay. You'll have better sleep, improved sleep pattern, reduce snoring by not breathing through your mouth. Your fatigue should reduce as well because you'll be using your oxygen much more effectively and hopefully getting better, more effective rest. You'll reduce breathlessness because so whether that's at rest or whether it's under exertion, but because you are reducing this drive of your carbon dioxide being the trigger for taking a breath in. If you're increasing your body's tolerance to carbon dioxide, it means that you'll not need to take a breath in as quickly as you maybe currently do. By all of this, it helps to improve your cardiovascular fitness. It will help to reduce stress because by breathing more slowly, and again, this tolerance to carbon dioxide, it tends to stimulate your vagus nerve, which is what helps to reduce your stress levels. Reduce nighttime urination, and actually, this is something. So the hormone vasopressin, which is the hormone which makes your kidney hold on to water, so that your bladder doesn't get filled up too quickly. And if you're breathing through your mouth, you don't release vasopressin as much. So that's why if you're breathing through your mouth at night, an awful lot of people have to get up and go to the toilet more often. So actually closing your mouth and breathing through your nose at night should increase the amount of vasopressin in your system and stop you from needing to go to the toilet, stop your bladder from filling up and stop you from needing to go to the toilet. Your general health, because of the cleansing effects of breathing through your nose, it will improve your general health. Reduce risk of infections, reduce your dehydration. Again, this is because you're breathing through your nose more. And it also helps you to improve your focus and concentration. So those are the real benefits of developing your ability to breathe through your nose more effectively and build up your tolerance to using carbon dioxide. Okay. Now that's pretty much, that's the kind of background to it. But the bigger program, I think, will probably be about a 6-week program. And basically what we'll do throughout that would be a progression of the exercises so that you continue to build your oxygen tolerance, carbon dioxide tolerance, integrating it with some of your activities and with some other more active exercises. And as well as that, it will help to increase the strength, build the strength of your diaphragm and your other muscles of breathing. We'll also explore some techniques that aren't necessarily they're not necessarily connected with the oxygen advantage, which the carbon dioxide building of tolerance is really based on this thing called the oxygen advantage. Now, but we'll also explore techniques to try and help with getting rid of phlegm and mucus if you have a chest infection, and help you to unblock your nose as well if you tend to get a lot of nasal congestion. But the techniques will also help you with your focus and concentration. So it's a kind of, it starts with a foundation of exercises, which I've just given you, the very basic ones, but there's a progression of other exercises that will help to build on everything that you're starting to do with the first 3 exercises. Okay. The book, those couple of things just that I've got on that slide. So oxygen advantage is what the program is mainly built on, but there's a really good book called Breath, which explores the nasal breathing techniques, and it's a really interesting book if you want to know a bit more about the science behind it, and some of the it's a journalist guy who's gone off and explored lots of different breathing techniques. So it's not just nasal breathing, but there's a lot of really interesting stuff about it. And then there's a podcast called Feel Better, Live More, and there's quite a few useful, interesting interviews with some people who are focused on breath work on this guy's podcast. So if you want some direction of those, I can send you links to them if you're interested in listening to them. Otherwise, you can just come and listen to me and practice with me. So have either of you any questions? I know there's quite a lot of information in that. So anybody?
I think, I mean, I'm certainly finding doing the exercises, I've struggled because I had the cold and I was choked. I was coughing a lot.
Yeah.
But I noticed today I actually could manage to hold my breath for a bit longer, only a couple of seconds, but that felt good.
Good, that's great.
But I do notice that I breathe through my mouth when I'm doing exertion. And if I'm out walking, one of the problems I find, and I don't know whether this technique will help, is my nose runs really badly.
Right. So
I end up blowing my nose a lot, and then I mouth breathe. So it's kind of partly I'm conscious that's part of the reason why I often think I'm breathing through my mouth, because I've run out of handkerchiefs and my nose is dripping.
Interesting. Okay, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if that will make a difference or not.
Yeah, I don't know why it happens, but it's one of the bugbears, you know.
Yeah. Indeed. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I get certainly whenever you're doing these exercises, I say something that can indicate you're doing them correctly and that you're starting to build up your carbon dioxide is that you start to salivate more.
Right.
So if you find that when you're doing them, if you're starting to salivate, then you're hitting the right. You're doing them well, because essentially that's an indication that your vagus nerve is being stimulated, which is what you want to do.
Right. Well, I can feel it today, but I don't know if I've been doing it, because I think the first one I hadn't appreciated to leave 15 seconds between.
Okay. Yeah. No, you need to give yourself.
So I think what I was doing was alternating between a breath. So I think that today I think, oh, that's, and I'm also a bit more conscious that I feel that I'm still kind of using quite a lot of other muscles.
Okay.
So I presume that's just unlearning to use them, if you like.
And I think by the regular practice of this, because you're being more aware and you're being conscious, it's conscious breathing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And whatever way you want, whether you use it as a meditative practice or not, some people do, but it's just being conscious of what's happening to your body when you're breathing actually is really important, and changing those recognizing, oh gosh, yeah, I'm using my shoulders are way up here, and actually if I just drop them down, it'll help you realize then that your rib cage can move a little bit better. And by slowing things down, by slowing your breath down consciously and taking conscious control of it, that will reduce your stress levels. Because slowing it down, again, it's hitting the vagus nerve, which turns off the stress response. Okay, so from a sort of scientific physiological response. Paul, have you any thought or comments at this point?
Yeah, I think it's good. It's a bit like the mindfulness.
It complements the mindfulness really nicely.
Yeah, I could see
If,
that.
if you use,
But I'm aware that my posture is not great, so I think I'm going to have to work on that a little bit. So I'm maybe sitting back or slouching. I'm not very good at the best posture, so but I'll try a bit better.
Just try and make sure. I mean, again, because it's not a case of having to sit for half an hour and in an ideal posture. You're only doing it, say, for 3 or 4 minutes. So you'll each exercise, you do it for 3 or 4 minutes. Set your posture, set your position. Make sure you're in a chair that's comfortable and firm, that you're not sinking into it. Whether you need a towel rolled up in your lower back, or whether you need to, as I say, bringing in some cushions or pillows in front so you can relax your shoulders. That helps to switch off all your neck muscles as well. So finding a position that's comfortable and making sure that you're reasonably upright but not arched and chest out. You should be, thinking about that night, imagining a string, pulling up from the crown of your head into a nice kind of long neck, shoulders kind of dripping down in towards the floor or down towards the seat. But you're only doing, so you set your timer, you set your position, set the timer, do your first exercise and keep that, and then move around and reset yourself for the next one. So it's not as if you're trying to sit in an ideal posture for half an hour or 45 minutes, because actually that's almost impossible anyway. You have to we have to reset. Our postural muscles have difficulty maintaining us in a long-term position. We should be moving around a bit more. We're designed to move, aren't we? Not sit still. Okay, so just work on your button. It's that consciousness. You've heard all of us at some point talking about shoulder blades back against your chest wall, chin tucked in. The distance between your ears and your shoulders, keep it long. So give it a go and see how you get on. And if you think you'd be interested, just let me know on the feedback form. Okay.
Okay, cool.
And if you want to just give me a shout, what I'll do is I'll send you those 3 slides with the instructions for those 3 exercises. Yeah. So that you can practice those. And just the first one with the 3-second holds. If you're finding that easy, increase it to 5-second holds. But some people find that holding your breath for 3 seconds every 15 seconds actually is challenging enough. But you can build it up. If you're finding it easy, do 5-second holds every 15 seconds instead. Okay.
Okay, cool.
And just give me a shout. You know where I am. If anything, if you want to ask me anything, just either drop me an email or give me a call at centre. You know where I am.
Yeah. And those mouth thing, that sounded quite intriguing as well.
You want me to send you some?
Yeah, I think, because I mean, I probably do mouth breathe through the night.
Yeah. So I mean, it can make a massive difference to how rested you feel in the morning.
Yeah.
And actually, I find after I've been wearing them for a few weeks, I can then stop using them for a while, and it kind of retrains your mouth to stay closed. But then after a while, I start putting them on again, because I find myself doing the old, the snort that wakes you up in the middle.
I've done that. Yes, I've wakened myself up.
Yeah.
Not often, but.
Well, have you another appointment with me, Irene? Or
yes, I have.
Okay, so I'll give you a strip of these. I'll give you a strip of 6, and you can give them a try. Paul, if you want them, just give me a shout.
Website.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
If next time you're in the centre, just give me. I've got some sitting on my desk.
All right. Cheers.
Okay.
Okay, Jillian.
All right, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Stop recording.